The Montgomery estate glowed like a jewel box under the December night sky, every window blazing with warm light, every doorway draped in garlands that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. I stood in the grand foyer, watching guests in their designer gowns and tailored suits drift past me like I was part of the furniture. Crystal champagne flutes clinked, laughter rang out from the ballroom where my father, Richard Montgomery, held court with Harrison Sterling and his son Preston, discussing the merger that would supposedly cement our family's legacy for generations. I smoothed down my simple black dress, the one I'd bought off the rack 3 years ago, and told myself I belonged here. This was my family's home, even if I'd spent the last year living in the cottage on the back 40 acres, caring for Aunt Dorothy while she slowly forgot who we all were. My sister Bella swept past me in a crimson gown that hugged every curve, her blonde hair cascading in perfect waves. She didn't acknowledge me. Behind her, my stepmother Trinity followed in emerald silk, her sharp eyes scanning the crowd with the precision of a general surveying a battlefield. "Caroline," my father's voice carried across the foyer. "Come join us. The Sterlings want to toast the merger." I made my way through the crowd, feeling their eyes on me. I knew what they saw. The plain daughter. The one who'd wasted a year of her life caring for a dying old woman instead of building a career, instead of being useful to the family business. The one who'd caused a scene at Aunt Dorothy's funeral 6 months ago, when I'd objected to Bella's carefully orchestrated production that had turned genuine grief into a performance. Harrison Sterling raised his glass as I approached. He was tall, silver-haired, commanding. Preston stood beside him, dark-haired and handsome in that effortless way wealthy men often are. My father beamed at them both. "To new partnerships," Harrison said. "To the Montgomery Sterling future." We all raised our glasses. The champagne tasted like ashes in my mouth. "Gift exchange time," Trinity announced, her voice cutting through the conversation with practiced cheerfulness. A little Montgomery family tradition before we welcome our new partners into the fold. My stomach tightened. I'd forgotten about the gift exchange. I'd been so focused on just getting through this evening that I'd completely forgotten. Bella's eyes glinted as she pulled a small wrapped box from beneath the massive Christmas tree that dominated one corner of the ballroom. She handed it to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "For you, sister dear," she said. "Something to commemorate all your hard work this past year." I unwrapped it slowly, aware of everyone watching. Inside was a picture frame. Empty. Just glass and ornate silver scrollwork, utterly vacant. "It's a frame," Bella explained, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "For all your accomplishments." "Oh wait, there aren't any, are there? You spent a year playing nursemaid instead of contributing anything meaningful to this family." Laughter rippled through the crowd, polite, uncomfortable laughter, but laughter nonetheless. "Bella," Preston said, his tone uncertain. "That's a bit harsh." "It's honest," Trinity interjected, moving to stand beside Bella. "We've all had to pick up Caroline's slack while she indulged in her little caregiving fantasy. Do you know who had to handle all the arrangements when Dorothy finally passed? Who had to organize a funeral befitting the Montgomery name? Bella did, because Caroline was too busy throwing accusations around to be of any use." My fingers tightened on the empty frame. I looked at my father, waiting for him to say something, anything. He avoided my eyes. "Bella has been the backbone of this family," Trinity continued. "She sacrificed so much, taken on so many responsibilities. The funeral alone was a masterwork of grace under pressure. Dorothy would have been so proud." "Would she?" The words came out of my mouth before I could stop them. Bella's expression shifted, just slightly. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said. "Just that Aunt Dorothy had very specific wishes about her funeral. Simple, intimate, family only." "And that's exactly what she got," Bella snapped. "A beautiful service that honored her memory. Unlike you, showing up late and making a scene about the flower arrangements like some kind of lunatic." "I showed up late because I was at the probate office," I said quietly, "filing the paperwork for Aunt Dorothy's estate. Someone had to handle the legal requirements." "Always so superior," Trinity said, her voice hardening. "Always acting like you're the only one who really cared about Dorothy. You weren't the one who had to watch her decline. You weren't the one who had to make the hard decisions." Heat flooded my face. I was the one with her every single day for a year. I was the one who held her hand when she didn't remember her own name. I was the one who sat with her at 3 in the morning when she was frightened and confused. Where were you, Bella? Where was any of you? Enough. My father's voice cracked like a whip. This is neither the time nor the place for family drama. We have guests. We have important business partners who don't need to witness this dysfunction. I looked at Harrison Sterling. His expression was carefully neutral, but I could see the calculation in his eyes. This was a man who built empires. He was assessing whether the Montgomerys were a wise investment or a liability. I apologize, I said, setting the empty frame on a nearby table. I'll go. Caroline, wait. Preston reached out, his hand catching my elbow. Don't leave like this. I pulled away gently. It's fine. I don't belong here anyway. I haven't for a long time. I made it halfway to the foyer before I stopped. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. And somewhere deep inside me, a voice I'd been suppressing for months finally broke through the fear and the conditioning and the desperate desire to keep the peace. No more. I turned around, walked back into the ballroom. Every step felt like breaking free from chains I hadn't even known I was wearing. Actually, I said, my voice carrying across the room, I'd like to give my gift now. Bella's eyebrows rose. You didn't bring anything. Oh, but I did. I pulled out my phone, sent a quick text. I brought the truth. And I think everyone here deserves to see it. The massive television mounted above the fireplace suddenly flickered to life. Nate, bless him, was worth every penny I'd paid for his cybersecurity expertise. He'd helped me access the cloud storage on Aunt Dorothy's tablet, the one I'd set up for her so she could stay connected with family and friends during her final year. Text messages filled the screen. Bella's messages, sent to her best friend Madison during the week Aunt Dorothy died. Bella. OMG, the old bat is finally on her way out. Her life was so pathetic. My Bali trip is still on, right? Madison. Totally. You deserve it after dealing with all that. Bella. Caroline acts like she's such a saint. Please. Dorothy didn't even know who anyone was. Total waste of time. The room went silent. I watched Bella's face drain of color. That's not. Those are taken out of context, she stammered. There's more, I said calmly. I texted Nate again. The screen changed. Credit card statements now. Highlighted transactions standing out in yellow. Bali resort charges, spa treatments, shopping sprees at luxury boutiques, all dated the same day as Aunt Dorothy's funeral. While you were supposedly grief-stricken, I said, my voice steady despite the rage burning through my veins. While you were accepting condolences and playing the devoted niece, you were actually in Bali. You organized that elaborate funeral, hired those expensive planners, gave that beautiful eulogy about family and love and loss, and then you got on a plane. You weren't even in the country when we buried her. Trinity's face had gone rigid. How dare you spy on your sister's private communications? I didn't spy on anything, I interrupted. These messages were sent to Aunt Dorothy's tablet. She received notifications every time Bella messaged anyone in her contact list. I was helping her manage her accounts. This is all legally accessible information from devices I had explicit permission to monitor. This is a violation of privacy, my father said, his voice tight with fury. You had no right. I had every right, and there's one more thing you all should know. I nodded at the screen again. More messages appeared. These were different. A conversation between Bella and Trinity from 2 months before Aunt Dorothy's death. Bella. Did you plant the seed about the will? Trinity. Done. I told Margaret that Dorothy was planning to cut Caroline out entirely. Said she was furious about Caroline's controlling behavior. Margaret will spread it to everyone. Bella. Perfect. By the time Dorothy dies and the real will is read, everyone will already believe Caroline manipulated her. No one will trust anything she says. My father's face had gone gray. Harrison Sterling set down his champagne glass with careful precision. You spread rumors, I said, looking directly at Bella and Trinity. You told everyone that Aunt Dorothy was planning to disinherit me because I was supposedly controlling and manipulative. You poisoned the family against me before she even died. And why? Because you knew the truth. You knew that Aunt Dorothy trusted me. You knew she saw through both of you. This is slander, Trinity hissed. You're making wild accusations based on private conversations. I'm revealing the truth based on documented evidence, I corrected. There's a difference. And speaking of truth, shall we talk about the funeral expenses? The one Bella supposedly sacrificed so much to arrange? Dad, did you ever see the actual invoices? My father's silence was answer enough. Bella inflated every cost by 30%, I continued. She pocketed the difference. The elaborate funeral Aunt Dorothy supposedly wanted, that was Bella wanting a showcase event she could use for social media content and networking. Aunt Dorothy wanted to be cremated and have her ashes scattered in the garden she loved. Instead, you gave her a spectacle. Preston Sterling pulled his hand away from Bella's arm. She'd been clinging to him, tears streaming down her face, playing the wounded innocent. Now he was staring at her like he'd never seen her before. Preston, you have to understand, Bella pleaded. She's always been jealous of me. She's twisting everything. I can see the dates on those credit card statements, Preston said quietly. You told me you were devastated after the funeral, that you needed time alone to grieve. You spent 3 days at my apartment, crying. But you were in Bali. I went afterward, Bella insisted. I needed to decompress. The charges start the morning of the funeral, Preston said. His voice had gone cold. You were checking into a resort while they were lowering your aunt's casket into the ground. Harrison Sterling stood abruptly. Richard, I think we need to discuss the merger privately, now. Harrison, please, my father said, desperation creeping into his tone. This is a family matter. It has nothing to do with business. It has everything to do with business, Harrison cut him off. I'm about to tie my company's reputation to your family name. What I've just witnessed is fraud, manipulation, and a stunning lack of moral character. These aren't minor character flaws. These are fundamental ethical failures. Trinity stepped forward, her voice sharp with command. Caroline, you will delete those files immediately. You will apologize to your sister and to our guests for this embarrassing display of attention-seeking behavior. And then you will leave this house and not return until you're ready to act like an adult. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The sound bubbled up from somewhere deep in my chest, surprised and genuine and utterly free. No, I said simply. Excuse me? Trinity's eyes widened. No, I'm not deleting anything, I'm not apologizing, and I'm definitely not leaving. You want to know what I did this past year while you all dismissed me as useless? I took care of a dying woman with compassion and dignity. I managed her medical care, her finances, her legal affairs. I learned more about strength and grace and genuine love than I ever learned from this family. Aunt Dorothy knew exactly what she was doing when she asked me to be her caregiver. She knew I was the only one who wouldn't exploit her vulnerability. You're pathetic, Bella spat. The tears were gone now, replaced by pure venom. You've always been pathetic. Hiding behind sick old women because you can't compete in the real world. You have nothing, Caroline. No career, no prospects, no future. Just an empty frame because your life is empty. My life is empty. I pulled out my phone again, pulled up an email, and handed it to Harrison Sterling. This is from Aunt Dorothy's attorney. It was sent to me this morning. I hadn't planned to share it tonight, but I think the timing is appropriate. Harrison read the email, his eyebrows rising. He looked at me with something that might have been respect. May I? I nodded. He cleared his throat and read aloud. Dear Ms. Montgomery, pursuant to the last will and testament of Dorothy Ann Montgomery, executed 18 months prior to her death and witnessed by 3 independent parties, I am pleased to inform you that you have been named primary beneficiary of her estate. All assets, totaling approximately $4.2 million, are to be transferred to the Dorothy Montgomery Foundation for Alzheimer's Research and Patient Care, with you named as founding director and trustee. Mrs. Montgomery's instructions were explicit. These funds are to be used to ensure that other families have access to the kind of compassionate, skilled care that you provided to her. She noted that you are the only person she trusts to honor this mission with integrity. The silence that followed was profound. My father's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. Trinity looked like she might shatter. Bella's face had gone from pale to flushed to pale again, cycling through emotions too quickly to track. $4 million, Trinity finally whispered. She left $4 million to Caroline. She left it to a foundation that will actually help people, I corrected. Because that's what Aunt Dorothy cared about. Not social status or business mergers or maintaining appearances. She cared about making the world better. She spent the last clear-minded moments of her life setting this up, making sure her money would do some good. Preston Sterling removed the engagement ring from Bella's finger. She didn't even seem to notice, too shocked to react. "I'm sorry," Preston said, his voice gentle but firm. "I can't marry someone who would lie about something like this. Who would fake grief while partying in Bali. I thought I knew you, Bella. I was wrong." "Preston, please." Bella grabbed at his arm. "You can't believe her twisted version of events. I love you. We're supposed to get married in June." "We're not getting married at all," Preston said. He handed me the ring. "I think you should hold on to this. Sell it if you want. Donate the money to your foundation. Whatever feels right." Harrison Sterling buttoned his jacket, the gesture decisive. "Richard, I'm withdrawing from the merger discussions. I can't in good conscience tie Sterling Industries to a family with such profound ethical issues. I'm sorry, but my reputation means everything. I won't compromise it." "Harrison, please." My father stepped forward, his usual composure cracking. "We can work this out. This is just a misunderstanding. Family drama that got out of hand." "This isn't drama," Harrison said flatly. "This is fraud, deception, and cruelty. These aren't qualities I want anywhere near my business or my family." He and Preston walked out. The other guests began filtering out as well, murmuring to each other. Phones already out to spread the gossip. The Montgomery Christmas party would be the talk of the social circuit for months. My father turned to me, his face mottled with rage. "Do you see what you've done? You've destroyed this family. You've ruined everything I've worked for." "I've revealed the truth," I said calmly. "If the truth destroys what you've built, then what you built was never solid to begin with." He pulled out his checkbook, scrawled something across it, and thrust it at me. "Here, $50,000, take it and go. Delete those files, keep your mouth shut, and disappear. You're no longer welcome in this family." I looked at the check, $50,000 to protect their reputation, to keep me quiet, to make me complicit in their lies. I tore it in half, then in half again. The pieces fluttered to the marble floor like snow. "I don't want your money," I said. I never did. All I ever wanted was honesty, integrity, a family that actually cared about each other instead of just protecting their image. "You sanctimonious little—" Trinity started forward, but my father caught her arm. "Let her go," he said tiredly. "She's made her choice." "Yes, I have," I agreed. "I choose integrity over image, truth over comfort, building something meaningful over maintaining something rotten." I walked out of the ballroom, through the foyer, out into the December night. The cold air hit my face like a blessing. Behind me, I could hear Bella crying, Trinity's sharp voice issuing commands, my father's heavy footsteps. I didn't look back. My car was parked down the long driveway, past the manicured gardens and the fountain that probably cost more than most houses. I was halfway there when I heard footsteps behind me. "Caroline, wait." I turned. Nate was jogging toward me, laptop bag slung over his shoulder, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "That was spectacular," he said. "Absolutely spectacular. I've worked with a lot of clients, but I've never seen anyone deploy evidence with that kind of surgical precision." "Thank you for your help," I said. "Send me your invoice. The foundation will pay it." "Already sent. But I wanted to give you this." He handed me a flash drive. "Backups of everything, just in case anyone gets ideas about making those files disappear. I've also uploaded copies to 3 separate secure cloud servers. Your family can't touch them." I hugged him impulsively. He laughed and hugged me back. "What are you going to do now?" he asked. "I'm going to go back to the cottage," I said. "I'm going to have some tea, and tomorrow I'm going to start building something real. A foundation that actually helps people. A life that actually matters." "Sounds perfect," Nate said. "You need any tech support for the foundation, you know where to find me. First 3 months are pro bono. Dorothy was a good lady. I'd like to help honor her memory." He walked back toward the house, probably to retrieve his car. I stood there for a moment, looking up at the Montgomery estate, all lit up and beautiful and hollow. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Preston Sterling. I got your number from Nate. I wanted to apologize for my family's role in all this. The merger discussions put pressure on your family that probably exacerbated existing problems. And I wanted to say that what you did tonight took real courage. If your foundation needs legal support setting up, Sterling Industries has an excellent nonprofit division. Consider it our apology. No strings attached." I smiled, typed back a quick thank you, and pocketed my phone. The cottage was dark when I pulled up, but it felt like home in a way the main house never had. I'd lived here for a year with Aunt Dorothy, learning what really mattered. Learning that integrity wasn't about grand gestures, but about small, consistent choices. Learning that love was action, not performance. Inside, I made tea and sat in Aunt Dorothy's favorite chair, looking out at the garden she'd loved. Come spring, I'd scatter her ashes here the way she'd wanted. Small ceremony. Just me and maybe Nate and a few of the nurses who'd helped during those final months. People who'd actually cared. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "Caroline, this is Margaret Wu. I was at the party tonight. I'm the one your stepmother used to spread rumors about Dorothy's will." I'm so ashamed. I believed her lies without question. Your dedication to Dorothy was obvious to anyone who actually paid attention. I'd like to make amends. I run a senior care advocacy group. We'd love to partner with your foundation. I responded with gratitude and promised to reach out soon. Over the next hour, more texts came in. People I barely knew from the party, people who'd witnessed the confrontation and wanted to help. Want to volunteer, wanted to donate, wanted to share their own stories of caring for aging relatives, of feeling dismissed and undervalued for doing work that actually mattered. The empty frame sat on the table beside me, catching the lamplight. But it wasn't empty anymore. I could see what would fill it now. Not accomplishments measured by society standards. Not wealth or status or business success. Instead, I saw a year of memories. Aunt Dorothy laughing at old jokes, her hand in mine during difficult nights. The clarity in her eyes during rare lucid moments when she'd squeeze my fingers and whisper, "Thank you for seeing me." I saw the foundation taking shape, the research we'd fund, the families we'd help. I saw a future built on purpose instead of pretense. My father would never forgive me. Trinity and Bella would spend years spinning their own version of tonight's events, painting me as vindictive and cruel. I'd be cut out of the family, disinherited, erased from their carefully constructed narrative. And I was okay with that. Because I'd found something they would never understand. I'd found my own voice, my own path, my own worth that didn't depend on their validation or approval. I picked up the empty frame, walked to my desk, and pulled out a photo I'd taken with my phone during one of Aunt Dorothy's good days. She was in her garden, surrounded by roses, smiling with genuine joy. I was beside her, laughing at something she'd just said. We looked happy. We looked real. I printed the photo, trimmed it to size, and placed it in the frame. Not empty anymore, not even close. Outside, snow began to fall, dusting the garden in white. Inside, I raised my teacup in a silent toast to Aunt Dorothy, to truth, to freedom, to building something that would last. Tomorrow, I'd start the foundation paperwork. I'd reach out to Margaret and Preston and all the others who'd offered help. I'd begin the real work of my life. But tonight, I just sat in the cottage that had become my home, drinking tea, watching snowfall, and feeling more at peace than I had in years. The Montgomery Empire might crumble, the merger might fall through, the family reputation might never recover. But I was free, and I was going to build something beautiful,